and
cup of coffee.
Get a big cup of coffee.
Yes. I have yesterday's iced coffee to finish because that's why Jay's going to the stores because we're out of milk. Anyway, okay, so what we do is we have the Skype just in case like the other audio doesn't work out. And then we also did I tell you we put the Skype on YouTube?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then so Jessica will say 1, 2, 3 record, and then you just can hit record on your other device.
Okay, so I have voice memos up. Does that work?
Yes. And then wait, do you have headphones in right now?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Because otherwise it'll pick up the Skype audio and it'll be strange. And then so Jessica will say 1, 2, 3 record, and that's when you can hit the voice memo, and then we'll clap, and that like syncs our audio up very officially. And then we'll go for it.
Okay.
Wait, no, put that in the Skype one. Yeah.
You can tell I don't do this very often.
That's totally okay. Totally fine.
It's our unofficial official way of figuring it out.
Yeah. Other people, they use Skype, but because there's 3 voices and dogs and babies, like this just helps in case like there's noise in the background of one of ours, we can cut it out. So.
Oh, perfect.
And if all else fails, we can use Skype, and it's totally fine. So, don't worry.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna try to. Oh no, baby's waking up.
Oh no.
Wait. And there's. Oh, it's one of the twins.
Oh.
Let me see if my husband can put her back to sleep. Hold on one sec.
You're
sorry,
fine.
like right as you're about to start.
Don't even worry. It's totally okay.
Our entire first year.
Yeah. I want to know how to change. Like, I want to make right now you're big. I want to make Leah big.
I don't know if there is. Oh wait. Nope. Where'd she go?
I still see her.
Oh, I just lost her though.
Oh no.
Okay.
Maybe if it's. Wait. Oh wait. If I do this and make that, nope.
Well, also I think it doesn't matter what we do on our phone. Other phones see something different. Like, and
I know.
Skype at once.
Oh, I know that. I just want to see her bigger.
Okay.
Now I lost you. I just want to see her bigger than. Got it. I made it work. Just because like she'll be the. So I put you up to the plus sign, and then that made her big, and then I brought you back down to me, and then it made you small next to me.
Nope, still didn't do that much.
Oh, I don't know.
Do I need to bring you to the plus sign?
I don't know why it's not saying. Usually it says like. I need to get the. Oh my gosh.
I think she's in one of those like, just wants to be held.
Totally okay.
Thing. Bless you.
How old is she now?
16 months.
Oh, that's so sweet. They're getting so big. It's so funny. Like they're just I guess 3 months younger than Gray. But when I see them, I'm like, how did they get so big? And then I'm like, well, Gray's big too. So
I know, right?
Everybody
they
just
do
grows. They do.
Know.
Stinkers.
So different though.
I know.
I'm gonna try to like hide her off this. If she like calms down, I'll put her on the floor so she can hang out.
It's totally okay.
That's
Gray,
totally up to you. Whatever is good for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Gray has been in multiple episodes. Ara's been in a few. Jessica's daughter Emily's been in a few. So it's really okay. All right. Then
Part of the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. You want to record?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, record.
Okay. And then, excuse me, can you clap with her in your hands?
Yep.
So we can line up the audio. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. All right. All right. So I'm just gonna start it. and then we'll introduce you, and we'll just it's just like casual friends having coffee, just the way we are.
Tumbling around.
Yeah, that's par for the course for our podcast.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It really is. Okay, so wait, did you want me to start it, Jess, or do you want me to?
Go for it.
Okay. Sorry, I just realized I started the last one too, but all right. Perfect. It's totally perfect. Can you do it sideways? Then it won't fall because is it falling because of the headphones?
Oh, yeah. There we go.
There. Perfect.
Okay.
And you're still totally in frame. So, okay. Welcome back to another episode of the In Raw Life podcast. We are so excited about this month getting to share different stories from all different walks of life. And just like Jessica said in the intro, we want you to be able to hear these stories so you can learn. And we ask that you come to each story with an open mind and an understanding and an appreciation for the fact that there are a billion stories out there. As many as there are people, there are stories. And we want stories that are not our own to be lifted up so that we can understand people from all different backgrounds and all different experiences. With all that being said, I'm super excited because today we are interviewing Leah, who is one of my really good friends. I met her when I lived in California. We started having babies around the same time, and she's just been an amazing mama to get to walk through motherhood with. So, Leah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Now, the reason I asked Leah to be on the show is because, Leah, you come from parents from two different races, and I feel like that has had to play into your story and and the way that you grew up. So can you talk about what it was like growing up in the 90s with were you in like the Pennsylvania area, right?
So in Los Angeles.
Oh, you
I grew up in the Valley. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you went to school in Pennsylvania, but you grew up in the Valley.
I went to college in Pennsylvania, but I've been in LA my whole life other than that.
I would say, wait, before we get to that story, since I don't know Leah at all besides meeting her today, can I just like get a little snippet of who she is? Like, what she does, kids she has, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry.
So I'm Leah, and I am a labor and delivery nurse. I've been for about a little over 10 years, and I've been married for almost 9 years. And I have 5 children, with the oldest being 6. So there's a lot of little people in my house. And I love animals. So I also have a lot of pets, which drives my husband crazy. And I recently took up horseback riding, so that's another thing too. So I love adventure and my family and Jesus, and just trying to make it through with a lot of coffee.
Love it. Thanks.
Yes.
It's good to
Yeah.
You like took up horseback riding. Like you have so much going on, and yet you're not take time for yourself to do something that you enjoy. That's like we are so huge on trying to encourage women to still do what's inside of them. I love that.
Yeah, that's new. I realized like how big of a deficit that was. Like I really just wasn't making time for it. So I was just like, you know what? Like y'all just gonna figure out breakfast for yourself in the morning because I'm gonna go do something too.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
You.
Yeah. Sorry for jumping straight into it. And I'm not sitting here.
No, that's okay.
I'm like, I know Leah. The rest of you do too, right? Okay. Thanks, Jess. Thanks for getting us back. Okay. So now that we know who you are.
Now I want to hear the rest.
Okay. So yes, I am biracial. So my dad is Black and mom is white, and they are from Omaha, Nebraska. And they met in high school and were high school sweethearts. So they kind of, I think they met in like the early 80s. Omaha, Nebraska, rural town. Having a Black boyfriend and white girlfriend was not was not very kosher. And so they met a lot of racism on both sides. Both of their families were not happy about it, and they got a lot of nasty stuff happened to them around town and in school. So they moved to Los Angeles because they thought that that was one place that they would be more accepted. And that's where my brother and I were raised. And then just as a background, once they started having children and their families saw them become a family, then a lot of the racism really died down because they really thought that like if you have little brown children or mixed children, that you're just going to ruin their lives and they're going to be so confused and all of a sudden they saw that wasn't true. Then they were like, oh, maybe there's something to this this loving people thing. So their families really grew a lot, and on both sides and from all different generations, just watching our family. And now there's multiple biracial relationships within both of their families. So it's pretty cool. And then, for me growing up, you can't have the headphones. Nope. This is Noelle. She is one of my twins, who's 1.5. For me growing up, thank you. It was not like I didn't experience a lot of overt racism. Like I didn't get called the N-word, or like people just being just nasty. I think it was just made clear to me on multiple occasions throughout my childhood that like the fact that I was mixed, it was like well, at least you're not all black type of thing. Like I got a lot of like kids at school saying, well, you're not really black, so at least you're okay, or like your hair is so much nice. It's a lot of talks about my hair because I have more wavy curly hair versus kinky curly hair. So people are saying that at least I have that, or you're pretty for a black girl, or at least you don't talk like you're black and things like that. So I just got a lot of subliminal messages saying that like the black side of me was like less valuable. So that really played into my psyche, like wishing that I was different, or that my hair was straight, or that I looked like other people, or just feeling less valuable because I wasn't more white, which I didn't really fully realize the effects of that until I was an adult, and definitely when I became a mom. But just the lack of value for a whole part of my family, and I think also the lack of self-confidence I had about my heritage, and I'm Irish and I'm African, all of the things that come into that, and there's nothing wrong with it or shameful or less valuable. There's no less rich of a culture. So as an adult, I really had to like reteach myself a lot of the things that I believed growing up.
Wow. And so that was from kids, right? Like that wasn't from adults. That was from students.
Kids and adults. Like I remember one of my first interviews. I was like 16. I just got my first like work permit, and in one of my interviews at the mall, the lady was like, "Oh, like so what are you?" Because people were confused, like, am I Hispanic? Am I black or whatever? It's like, I can tell you're something. And I was like, I'm half black. And she's like, oh, that's so good that you don't sound like it. She's like, oh, your parents did such a good job, like that you don't talk like you're black. And I was just like, oh, like, so did I get the job? Just like, but like a lot of people would say, adults included, this really ignorant stuff, like anywhere from like just nail technicians saying crazy stuff. You just hear it throughout society from children and adults, and children who got that from their parents. I remember being like in like early middle school, like just it was like the first time like being out with other girls who were like, I don't know, 12, 13. We got to like go get pizza by ourselves, and it was like so exciting. And then the conversation turned to like skin color, and they're like, oh, at least I'm not like black. And I was just like, oh, like, just things like that. Like no one ever meant to hurt my feelings. They would just be like, oh, okay, I'm becoming more and more aware that like this is not desirable. Which I don't think that people would have necessarily said if I wasn't biracial. I think that there's like this like false sense of like, I don't even know the right word, like safety, or like I'm kind of like in like a buffer between like real Black people. So it's like she's safe enough to say the things that we think that I wouldn't necessarily say to someone who you could tell was all Black type of thing. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Did you, in your school, did you not have a lot of like all Black students when you were growing up?
No. I went to Catholic school, private Catholic school in LA, and I think there was one Black boy in my class who everyone is like, when you like hook up, it's like, you know, who's going to be whose girlfriend. I was like, that was my only choice. Like that was like the predetermined, like we were the couple because we were the only Black kids in our class. And there was a few Black kids throughout the school. But I remember like when I was like really young, like kindergarten, first grade, there was one older girl who was like the one of the few Black girls in school, and I just like idolized her so much because it was like she looks like me, her hair's like mine, like, and like even as an adult, like I still follow her on Facebook, and like there's still this like childlike there's like fascination with her because she was like the first example I saw of someone who looked like me.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that a little bit then. What is it like? I mean, I think times are definitely changing now, but growing up and seeing like predominantly white dolls, white characters, white cartoons, like what, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, I definitely think that played into my perception of my Blackness being less desirable because all of the things that I loved, you know, like Little Mermaid and Disney princesses and the shows I watched on TV, of like my Disney Channel favorites, like everyone looked so different from me. And I specifically remember being like young, maybe like 5 or 6, and my cousins from my mom's side, who I was really close with, were all the same age. I had always loved hanging out with them. And then I saw like a printed picture of us for the first time that my mom put on our refrigerator. And I had like my hair out in like a big afro, and my cousins were like these like cute little other 5-year-olds, or maybe even younger, with like their long blonde hair or brown hair. And I was just like, wow, there's such a stark difference. I was like, so they're beautiful and they're cute, and so that means I can't be because I look so different. Or I remember like I had like Cabbage Patch doll that someone had given me that was like my first like brown doll, and I didn't like it as much as the other dolls, and my mom was like, why don't you play with that one? And she's like, what did you name it? And I was like, I named it Vomit. And like I didn't know what vomit meant. I was like a very young child, but I knew that like this one was brown, and so like I didn't want to play with that one. I only want the white dolls. And I was little, like way too young to understand like any of the like what those connotations were. I just knew that like one thing was pretty and one thing was not, and I wasn't that one. So it's been interesting like as an adult and like in therapy trying to like unpack all of that. And this is kind of for someone who never experienced, like no one ever like intentionally said nasty things to me. This is just stuff that was like osmosis throughout my childhood, and unpacking how that, you know, plays into my life as an adult, as a parent, my own like self-esteem and self-worth, and like people pleasing nature that I think all kind of has ties to not really feeling valued, which no one ever made, you know, no one ever went out of the way to make me feel that way. Like I know a lot of people who grew up with people who said really nasty things on purpose, or whose parents put, you know, really damaging things into their heads. And that wasn't even my story. This is just like kind of normal, easygoing childhood, but there was still plenty of subliminal damage.
Wow.
Was it ever like did your parents kind of handle any of that? Like talk about how everybody looks different and is beautiful, or was it just like
You know, they didn't actually. They my dad, who had experienced a lot of racism in Nebraska in like the 50s and 60s, 70s, I think he was so worn out from it that like he thought that the best strategy was to just not talk about it. Like if we don't talk about it, they won't think about it. And I think that worked for a long time until I became a young adult and like just realized the gravity of how, you know, this country works. And I was like, you know, not telling me anything for a very long time, just allowed the world to tell me what all this meant. And the world is mean little kids or ignorant adults, and, you know, not having those conversations at home to like build confidence and like prepare me for the world, I think wasn't the best way to go. So I'm trying to be really intentional.
I feel like yeah.
I can still hear you.
She's trying to really hold your headphones.
No, girlfriend.
So cute.
She's exceptionally quiet, I think, too. Like, usually when Gray is here, he has a lot more to say. So.
Yeah. Oh, for now. She just woke up and she still got crust all over her face. That's going to change really soon.
Yeah, I think especially like going most households was nobody knew how to talk about it, so they just acted like everything was okay.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's really uncomfortable. Like I mean, there's other like non-racial issues. Like I'm like, oh, do I have to talk to my kids about that? Like that's, I'd really rather not.
Yeah.
But it's like if you don't, like they will find out. Like and without that type of like foundation, then you're kind of just leaving it up to the world, and the world can be a pretty messy place to learn information on firsthand.
Seriously, that is so inspiring just to hear as a mom, because like about, like you said, like even non-racial issues, like I don't even like when Arrow brings up death, like he knows that like bugs die, but then he's like, one time, this is such a random tangent, but the other day he was like, when are you gonna get a new husband? And I was like, no, Daddy's my husband till the day I die.
Normal question,
and he's
though.
like, you're gonna die? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not. Like, I'm definitely not.
For that
One day I will, but I don't know when to tell you that. Like, how do you talk about these things? They're all
same. I'm still figuring it out with the like my 6-year-old talks about that all the time, and I'm just like, can we just put a pause on this? Like I don't have those answers yet. I'm sorry I wasn't more prepared, but like can we not think that way? But you can't. Like once it's in their head, like they're gonna ask about it.
They're gonna figure it out somehow. I've always my daughter's 9 now, and I've always been pretty straight with her about most things. And I think my parents were not quite as much as I am, but I don't think they tried to hide. I don't know. But yeah, once it gets brought up, if you just give it to them pretty straight and in their terms, though, they don't have to understand as we as adults understand. They just need to understand on their level. And then they're like, oh, okay. That's how it works.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta make them understand on my level. I'm like,
And then when like life experiences, like my daughter has happened to have like experienced loss at a younger age, so like she asks and then she understands too. So that just happens to work for her. But like at 7, she's asking like really how babies are made. So I was like, I'm going to do a little bit of research to understand how to explain it to you, because luckily she's old enough to accept that answer as well. And I looked it up, and it was like they just need to hear what they need to hear. They don't care about the actual physical stuff. They just want to know like the two informations happen to meet. So like I looked up some books for her age, read it to her, and it just kind of explained it in like an abstract way. And when it ended, I was like, does that answer your question? She said, yep. I said, okay, perfect.
I love that.
So.
Oh wow. Well,
yeah, I do think I'd rather anything like that come from home, including like anything racial, religion, anything like that come from home, rather than like some of the twerps or something like that.
Yeah.
So true. I never even thought about it like that. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because it's making me rethink the discussions we need to have.
There are children's books for everything. I'm like such a huge person, and you can just research what is a good book for this age on this topic, and then just kind of read what it's about and look through it yourself first before you read it to them. And
yeah, we learned that lesson the hard way with Martin Luther King Jr. Day the first time we talked about it, like I guess in depth at home, and so we got some books, but I was like, oh, I just assumed that these are kids' books, so like let's just reading, and I was like, oh, we're not talking about assassination. Oh, it was a book about Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh.
And I didn't I just assumed that because it was a children's book that it would be fine. I would not make that mistake again. Or even like the videos that they played at school. I was like, let me watch those first to see if like I'm ready to explain the breadth of that, and if not, let me get in front of that, because once they hear it and they're like she's like, what is assassination? I'm like, oh no, what did I do?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then just being like honest, saying, I don't know how to answer you right now, but I will find the answer for you. And then like they're usually pretty accepting of that too, that you're being honest with them, and that mom and dad don't always know the right answer or have the right answer or have the answer that you agree with or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's powerful too.
So how have you, like, I'm guessing you may have thought about this, but like how are choosing specifically to be different from your parents raising your kids or not, or like when it comes to racial issues?
Yeah, I've had a lot of really interesting conversations with my husband about it. And my husband is Black, and both of his parents are Black, so he had just a different. He grew up in Pennsylvania, so like a different part of the country, and different experience of growing up Black. And there's a lot of just cultural things that he grew up having a lot of pride in, that wasn't necessarily like intentionally instilled in him, but it was just like, this is what we do, this is the kind of food we eat, the music we listen to, the type of parties we have, and there's just kind of like a security, and like, this is who we are, and that's okay. And then he grew up where it was like a 50-50 mix of white and Black in his area, so he grew up seeing a lot more people that looked like him than I did. So I've always kind of just admired his like self-assuredness that just comes from that type of confidence of just the basics of knowing that like you're valuable the way that God made you, and that you don't feel different. And it's interesting because I met him when we were like 21, 22. So like even at a pretty young age, just seeing how like the different foundations that we had. So as parents, we definitely feel like our oldest is 6. So we have 6, 5, 2, and 2 1-year-olds. So all very young. But we do want to get ahead of the curve as far as like what they're going to be learning in school and from their friends. And the area we live in is predominantly white, so like they are already noticing differences. And like I said, like my first experiences that I remember that were damaging were when I was 4, 5, 6, and that's my daughter's age. So just trying to make sure that we're showing, even just on TV, just images of people that look like them, just people that look all different kinds of races and types and orientations, like that it's normal, and that there's you can see people that look like you and see them in positive light, and then just that people look different, and that there's so many different ways to view that, not just as like this one type of person is valuable, this one type of person is beautiful. But it is interesting, just as a side note, like even with all the intentional work that we've done because of all of our conversations, it's still a struggle. Like my daughter has this obsession with blonde hair. Like she has beautiful curly hair that everyone always comments on. Like it's gorgeous, and we go to the grocery store, people say things about it. But she has this obsession with white hair, honestly. And like her friends or at school, she's like, that's Taylor with the blonde hair, or that's this person with that hair, or like she looks like Elsa, and Elsa's beautiful. And I'm just like, like it breaks my heart, because I feel like we've done so much work to try to instill confidence and have all the right books and have certain pictures up, and it's still like pervasive, and that's heartbreaking, because I don't necessarily feel like I failed, but I just feel like it's such a big system to tackle, that even with like your best intentions, there's just sometimes it's just a lot. So
sometimes
as far
it's just the individual person. Like I mean, I have curly hair. I grew up idolizing all of my friends who had like the straight hair, because that's what was pretty. Not, like my mom didn't know how to handle my hair when I was younger, so I had like it was afro, like legit. And I was like, oh, like, and I got made fun of it sometimes, like in elementary school. So I was like ashamed of my hair and straightened my hair for most of my life until recently. So sometimes it's just like individual, like, your daughter sitting with Noelle, right?
Yeah.
So Noelle might feel completely different. Like she might be like, I love my curly hair, and like nobody's gonna tell me different,
Yeah, that's true. it could be totally different. She's crawling under my chair. We'll just let her do that for a while.
But it could just be too, like, influences, like, you didn't have an older sister, and Noelle will see Ava and be like, wow, she's amazing. Like, Ava could possibly be like the girl in high school to you, like Noelle could watch her and idolize that, and so know that
that's
she's
true. I hope
from having an older sister. Which is just crazy how things like that work. Like, you never realize what's influencing our kids or what's influencing ourselves, really. It's wild.
Yeah.
Go deep into it. So now, like, where would you say that you're at, if, like, I mean, as vulnerable as you wish to be in this moment, like, where would you say that you're at in your journey of, like, accepting your
as far as, like, accepting myself?
Yes.
I think a lot of progress has been made. I think education and, like, educating myself on not just what what different things to be proud of, but I think just the history of, like, where a lot of the that messaging comes from. And I think it really takes, for me at least, understanding, like, the impetus of how people started to think that way, and that, like, obviously, most people know that, like, your race doesn't determine the value or how much God loves you, but, like, where did that start to change? Like, where do people start to believe that and push that in certain things in education or just in society throughout history? I think understanding where those breaks happened helps me to, like, then from that point work through how it should be, how things should be seen, and kind of some undoing a lot of the things that I believed or that I was told. So for me, just educating myself on a lot more black culture, Black history, my own family's history has really just given me a lot more just self-assuredness and confidence, and just, like, a fascination with it. Like, I don't feel angry. It's just really it's really fascinating looking at the human nature side of it, and recognizing where things need to change, and realizing that, like, I don't have to continue that. Like, I, as a young adult or as a parent, can break that type of cycle in the conversations that I have.
So I know, like, now you are raising 3 boys, and all of them are definitely not white. And I know that there are still issues today, which is just crazy to me. Like, okay, so a little backstory. I think it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I think you brought this up, that you were, like, worried about raising boys in America today, boys of color in America today. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, you have nothing to worry about. I am sure that is not true. And then, like, this past year has been extremely eye-opening to me. I realized I was completely ignorant on this topic. So can you speak to what it's like raising, like, children in America today, especially boys, or maybe not especially boys?
Yeah, I do think that especially boys is a big part of it. And I mean, it's terrifying. Like, I wish I had a lighter word than that, but I don't. I feel scared and angry that I have to be so scared. I think believed that at this point in our country that things wouldn't be as tense as they still are. Like, I had experiences of watching my dad be profiled and brutalized from the LAPD in the mid 90s, and my husband also had plenty of negative experiences with police growing up, and just in general, just like this fear that a lot of society has of Black men or Black boys. And it's so hard. Like, my oldest is 5, and I just have this really genuine fear of what those conversations are going to be like, that are going to be sooner than I want, or that are fair for an innocent child who has no there's no reason for him to feel or to know that people are going to look at him a certain way, or be afraid of him or have preconceived notions about what he can or can't do. But the reality is that for a lot of Black moms, you have to have those moms of Black boys, and it doesn't have to be a Black mom. You have to have those conversations early enough to get ahead of it. And, my husband told me about the different conversations that his parents had with him. And that's just kind of part of it. Like, it's, to my husband, it's not as like heartbreaking because all his friends had the same conversation, and that was just kind of part of it. But like at a pretty young age, like you need to learn, like if you get in trouble, like you will get in more trouble. Like I think his mom told him, like, if you go out and run with your white friends, like you can go run, but just like if something happens, like don't expect anyone to have your back. And if the police come, like they will assume that you are the worst troublemaker of the troublemakers. Like you will get that type of like bias. And then that played out in real life. And like even just living in Pasadena, California, which is like a pretty nice area, but it was pretty diverse, but like a mid to upper socioeconomic area. My husband would wear a suit to work, and when he came home to like help me put the kids to bed, and then need to walk the dogs in the neighborhood, he had to keep his suit on, because if he walked the dogs through our neighborhood in his like sweats or like his basketball shorts, if he was going to go play basketball at night, there were neighbors who would be suspicious, or even, police would stop and watch him walk our golden doodles, like the most non-threatening dogs in the world. But just like this awareness that like you will be perceived as a threat is a lot to walk around with. And so seeing that my husband walk around with it, my dad walk around with it, my brother walk around with it, and my friends walk around with it, it's to be very honest, it's a heavy sadness of knowing that as a Black man, you have to make yourself seem safe to people who don't understand you all the time, whether you're at the grocery store, in an elevator, at work. There's this constant notion that that people don't value the same way or trust you in the same way, and then with law enforcement, it's like times 10. So trying to explain that to my little boys when I look at them and they're just cute little chubby faced kids who like dinosaurs and are still like having potty accidents, like that, it breaks my heart and it makes me so angry. I'll be honest, like there have nights or days where I am just like consumed in anger. Like I want someone else to come and have to have those conversations. I was like, it's not okay. It's not fair. And I wish that more people could hear. You could sit at people's dinner tables when they have to tell their little boys that the world's not fair and you're going to be the brunt of that. And we just have to prepare you for that, and how not to get into trouble and what you should or shouldn't say. And that may not be enough, because for a lot of people that look like you, it's still not enough. So sorry, little perfect little boy, the world's not going to be fair to you. And that's infuriating. And when people don't understand that, I think that's what makes me the most angry, when having conversations with peers, loved ones, coworkers who don't understand how different the world operates for people of color. It's like a willful ignorance to a lot of pain, and that's hard. So this year in particular has been helpful in a lot of ways, that like so many important conversations are being had, but it also kind of puts a mirror to like how much work there really is to be done. And even with all of the conversations and impetus and protests and all that, like the laws still haven't really changed very much. Like there's been a lot of nice conversations, which is helpful and a great starting point. But like as far as actually changing the way things work, like there hasn't been a ton of progress there. So it kind of, even with like the George Floyd verdict, like people were so like open arms, like, well, at least he got found guilty. Because it's like the fact that we had to worry about whether or not he would be found guilty of something that was so obviously evil is the problem. Like, forget that case, forget George Floyd himself. Like, it just points to the, a very real problem that exists in this country that is not, that just takes a lot of hard and ugly work, and for a lot of people to also be infuriated.
Yeah. Sharing that was incredibly open and vulnerable.
Yeah. Thank you for for always, like, honestly, thank you for standing up for that truth. Like, even when, I mean, like, we're good friends, and when I said that back in the day, you still, I don't, like, you weren't afraid to talk about that and to shine that light. And I just love that, like, that you're able to shine this light. But, like, it's disgusting and terrifying all at once. And I hate that like we have two boys that are the same age, and yet they're going to be treated completely differently when they're both just beautiful and innocent, sweet little children.
Yeah. I really do also find a lot of hope in that, because I see my son and I see their friends, and like there's just so much like love that they have for each other, and I'm just like, that doesn't need to, like, it doesn't need to be soiled. Like, if we could just get kids to, like, the following generations to, like, understand how much of a lie a lot of this stuff is, that, like, that things can change and they can really be the catalyst for that. And I have to hold on to hope for that my kids or even my children as adults won't have to deal with the same thing, that people can just call a lie and move forward. I hope.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that the conversations have been being had, because it's helped me to understand what I can actually do and actually be an ally. And I mean, in the past, we had conversations where I would be like kind of too timid to say, like, oh, like, that's a ridiculous thing to say. That's really rude or terrible. That's like not someone trying to be, but like this subconscious stuff, like you were talking about.
Right.
I think that's fucking dumb. You need to not say that. Like, and I'm not going to accept it. And if they try to fight you, I'm like, no, you're an idiot for saying that, which is not in my nature, or not like what I used to be. Like, I used to be like, well, like, I mean, I don't agree with them, but I don't know what to say. But now I'm like, who cares if I don't know what to say? Like, it's not helping if I'm not saying something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even like for myself as well, just like learning to call things out and to have more open conversations and be raw about it. And, I have a lot of friends and family who aren't comfortable with that topic, but they'll like read a Facebook post and then will message me and talk about it. And that, like, realizing how much power our voice does have. So even if you're like, that was fucking dumb, like, that person's gonna have to go walk home and be like, why would she say that? Like, what, why would someone think that was dumb? And like, you have to do that work. And I think that's how it starts, because if you just get to walk away with being comfortable in ignorance.
It's crazy to me too, the amount of conversations that like can be had, because now honestly, like, as soon as the George Floyd stuff happened, I think I called you or something right away. I was just like, Leah, I'm so sorry that I was so ignorant. And you were very gracious about it, so thank you for that. But and I do, you had mentioned earlier that like the ignorance helps the pain, because otherwise it's painful. And it's true, like, living in ignorance, thinking like, no, this isn't really possible as bad as they're making it out to be, is a lot more comfortable than saying like, wow, this sucks. And now that I have packed my ignorant bubble and am living in this sucks, I realize how many little things can be said, and I've had to like speak up. And I'm like, why am I like having to speak up to these adults in 2021 about race? This is disgusting to me. And so Like, I hate that. I hate that that's even a thing. And I'm like, oh, it just makes me infuriating. But yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. I'm glad that those conversations are being had, and I'm glad that those bubbles are popping for a lot of people, and that like I don't know, there's just a lot of effort there, and I really hope that like that momentum isn't lost, and that like, because once you know something, you can't unknow it. Right? It's like once you see something in a different light, you can't unsee it that way. I'm gonna nurse her while I'm talking.
Go for it.
So I find a lot of hope in that, and I'm really grateful for when people step out of their comfort zones enough to call a thing, and to start having those conversations, because a lot of people have to have those conversations that don't want to. So the more people that take on that work, I think that helps everyone.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Can you hear her, Leah? I can't.
No.
Okay, Jessica, you're frozen.
I
lost her. Jessica, come back. It's still recording, so.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's her Wi-Fi. But side note, nursing twins, how impossible is that?
Oh my gosh, so much harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was like, oh, you just do twice what you usually do. But oh my gosh, trying to like keep up with it, or like having them nurse at the same time. It's like a way more of a job than I imagined it to be.
Do they nurse evenly still? Like, now that they're getting older, or not really?
Yeah, for the most part. I've tried to wean them, and it's not really gone very well. They're pretty persistent. So like I don't have the same milk supply I used to, but like it's still like their comfort, but having to be like a pacifier for two walking people with lots of teeth is
oh my God, I can't imagine. I get annoyed with one sometimes.
I just like I just kind of got back in